Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome to the stream. I'm sorry that I'm 15 minutes late. I do apologize. The evening shows are always supposed to be at 8 o'clock. So, yeah, apologies for that. We'll make sure it's on time. Next time, lunchtime shows are always at 1, evening shows at 8. Listen, we've got some big news, people. Big news. Todd Boehly. Unfortunately, I can't find the interview anywhere about, on video to go through it, to do with what Todd Boehly said at the FT Business of Football Summit. But I do have total, I have all of the quotes, everything he said, everything he was sort of driving on about in writing. So we got plenty to work with today. Excuse me if I can't react to everyone in the chat, because as I said, we've got quite a bit to eat through. So I don't want to spend too much time going off of that, because it's only an hour of the show, and I want to make sure that it's the best quality show that we can do. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Like the video as well. We've got almost 60 people in there. Let's get up to 50 likes on the video. And also, I just want to say that I was at the protest the other day. I think this is the first stream I've done since the protest, and very, very impressive. I was pleasantly surprised with the turnout. Now, irrespective of if you believe in the protest, if you believe in what people are saying about the management, the ownership, the consortium as a whole, the project, the way that the model is structured. One thing that you always want to be able to say about any fan base is that they have a spine, a backbone. They really believe in what they're doing, and they back up their beliefs with actions. And that's what I saw before the Southampton game. I saw a group of fans who were united, and I saw a group of fans who certainly got their point across. This was covered all over the shop, and big up to everyone that went. Now, I spoke to a number of people as well, people with regards to finance, people in law, people who understand the legalities and how everything is structured, how it looks. And the more I'm learning, and I learned a lot today as well, believe it or not, not through social media, but through people who I've spoken to, experts in their field. We are in big trouble, guys. We are. That's the reality of it. And when you look at the numbers, and I know we're talking about Boehly here, but Boehly, it's his own money. His consortium, they've all put their own money in. They can change the model. They can. Unfortunately, Clearlake cannot. And I can briefly explain it to you. I've written some of it down. Now, there's no nice way to say it. Obviously, we're owned by Clearlake, 62%. They have control of the club. Vivid Seats is nothing. I'm seeing the Vivid Seats in the comment. Vivid Seats is nothing compared to what we are going to experience, what we are experiencing. Vivid Seats is a very small problem compared to what I'm about to tell you. Now, essentially, Clearlake is a private equity group. Yeah, Boehly and Clearlake working together. But Clearlake, it's not Feliciano's money. It's not Boehly's money. That is investors' money, all of it, pretty much all of it, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so when we say we're owned by Boehly and Feliciano, we're not actually owned by them. We're owned by investors, and Boehly and Feliciano are in charge of managing that money. Okay, and what we did is we took out a debt, subordinated debt, of 500 million. Well, initially 700 million from the banks. Okay, with about 4% interest, so it's quite minimal, the interest. And then we took out more debt on top of that through Ares Capital. Now, to give you an idea, the difference in the interest is significant. The bank's 4%, Ares Capital being another, private equity firm, 13%. Okay, so that 500 million, which is what they loaned us on top of the bank. So in total, 1.2 billion of loans, 700 million of 4% interest, and 500 million from Ares Capital, which has 13% interest, means that just that 500 million alone will have to be paid back by 2032 or 2033, whenever it is. And that would actually equate to 1.7 billion further down the line. Now, why did we do it? And what is the... why did we take the money? Yeah, we took the money because we were never going to spend our own money. Yeah, so we borrowed the money to invest on players, right? We invested quite poorly. Now, because we are also a private equity firm in terms of Clearlake, not only do Ares Capital want to get a significant return, which they will do because of the interest, but Clearlake needs to get paid as well, right, from this acquisition. Now, because of the contract, if there is a sale at any time, I think it's within the 10-year period or something like that. Again, I'm just saying what I was told. So if I've got some stuff confused, but I have written it down to make sure I get it as correct as I can. Clearlake essentially will get paid before Boehly if they're to sell. If there's a loss on the sale, Boehly has to pay that loss, not Clearlake. And it's fucking mad, honestly. So the 700 million pounds that was borrowed from the bank is going to be borrowed against the club. Yeah. So that money doesn't necessarily have to get paid back. That could just be debt that's on the club. Somebody else that might have to pay that off. Yeah. Just like Abramovich could have left the debt on Chelsea when he sold it. But he wrote that off. So we already have 700 million pounds of debt against the club. Now, the 500 million from Ares Capital, that can't be written against the club because they're a private equity firm that lent them the money. And that is 1.7 billion. So by the time the sale goes through, if there was to be a sale, what you would find is that 1.7 billion straight away doesn't even go to the people who bought Chelsea. That money goes to Ares Capital, which means you would have to value the club, and this is a very conservative valuation, around £9 billion by 2033. Now, that would mean that Clearlake would be looking to triple their investment, and they would have about 7.5 billion pounds in the pocket in terms of the sale, and then you'd have the payoff for Ares Capital, which is about 1.7 billion on top of that. That's where it rounds up to 9 billion, the whole sale. So essentially that's the target. It seems, based on what I'm hearing, is to get the club to a valuation near enough 9 billion, and then they can make a profit off of that. So it's not massive information because a lot of this stuff has already been leaked, but when you break it down, because you always want to think that what are the owners thinking? What's the goal here? The goal is obviously to make money, isn't it? But just interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. Father says he's talking circles like Americanize. He's talking about Boehly. Big up to you, Father. We were warned by minerals. Now reality bites us on our ass. Big up to you, Stephen. Thank you. Well, it had to come off at some point in the beard, didn't it? I don't cut my own hair. I make my girlfriend do it. Tough times. I'm not paying for a haircut in this economy. No way. Big up to you, Josh. I hope you're doing well. Big up to CFC Daniel as well. Samuel, big up to you. Based on what Todd Boehly said, Tori, it doesn't look like we will be getting a striker, but you never know. Stephen, Alex, did you fire the cameraman for fighting on the last live stream? In fairness to the cameraman, he had good intention behind what he was doing. There was a couple of fans watching this interview that I was doing with Charlie, and I didn't hear any of this, obviously. Otherwise, I probably, if you've obviously seen them, I don't tend to edit this stuff out. I keep it raw because I think people prefer it that way. Well, I don't even know if you could call it a fight, but there was a couple of blows in there. A few landed. Obviously, not all of it was on camera. Yeah, basically, someone was giving a Scottish fan stick. There's a Scottish guy. What's his name? Let me find his name because he deserves a lot of respect. So we will give him that respect. Where is he? Where is he? His name is... Oh, for fuck's sake. I don't know his name. But essentially, he sent a message to my camera guy because they're friends now. I don't really know. So he said that apparently he was slagging me off and Charlie as well, saying they're not real Chelsea fans. And what does a guy who knows, he doesn't even know what? So the Scottish guy said to speak to me, and then it kicked off because the other guy started yelling that he was a plastic fan and he didn't know what the CPO was. Oh, fucking hell, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, basically, my cameraman stuck up for this Scottish guy who travels all the way from Glasgow every single week. So fair play to him. He deserves some credit, doesn't he? Travels all that way and he gets slated by some random drunk fan talking about the fact that he's not a proper Chelsea fan. And yeah, my camera guy basically gave the camera to someone else and fucking confronted him. So yeah, that was interesting. But there was a couple of other things, but it's all good. And no, he has not been fired. He's a good friend of mine. And it's okay now. It's all good now. Brian, if they sell to someone with real money, win-win, absolutely. Big up to you, Brian. Listen, man, we'll have to see what happens, but it is what it is. We only have a certain amount of control in this scenario, and I think that the fan base have done their bit, or they did their bit before Southampton. So we'll see where things go. We'll see where things go. Big up to Fred as well for the donation, mate. Appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. Got another super chat from Fred saying, I watched your interviews in person after the Southampton game. You had a beer in hand and looked a bit wonky. Fair play, lad. Well, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, Fred. I was just so... I didn't have any energy for it. I didn't have any energy for the game. I was there for the protest. I got there at 6 o'clock. And look, I'll be honest with you. I thought the game was terrible. I mean, it was crap, wasn't it? It was rubbish. Let's not sit here and act like, like it was a good game. It wasn't a good game. It was shit. It was really shit. The first half was pathetic, and we did score goals, but it wasn't a good first half. I'm very positive. I'm happy to say that there's good things about it. I'm glad Cucurella scored. I'm glad some of the young players got a run out. I know that we're implementing a system, and as with any system, it deserves time to be implemented. The anger is not at Maresca for me. I mean, Maresca's not a great manager. He hasn't proven that at all. So I'm not going to sit here and say I think he's brilliant. But my anger is directed, higher than that. And I just To be honest with you, I was just bored of it, just really bored. You know, I stayed for 60, 70 minutes and then I just went out. I just went out because I found it really boring, to be totally honest with you. I've never done that before. That's the first time in 8 years that I've done that. 8 years. It's very unlike me, you know, but listen, it won't happen again. I did have a couple of drinks. That probably didn't help. As you can imagine, my cameraman had a few drinks as well. For those of you who watch the fan cams, that's why I was getting pissed off at him. I was doing an interview with Nina, and he was filming us, and the lorry drove past, and in the middle, Nina was in the middle of talking, and he went, "Where?" I went, "Put the camera back on me." I hope you're watching, Cam. Anyway, all is forgiven. All good. All good. It was fun content in the end, wasn't it? Big up to you, Fred. Appreciate the super chat. Right. Now, Ben Jacobs has come out via Give Me Sport, which is one of the platforms he's a part of. And he's got everything that Todd Boehly said at the FT Business of Football Summit. So let's go through it. Unfortunately, there's no videos for me to react to. But we have plenty to dive into, and we will dive. We will dive like Tom Daly. Maybe not like Tom Daly, but we'll dive. Okay. Chelsea. We've got so many fucking adverts. Fucking hell. Oh, God. Remove ads. Oh, for fuck's sake. No, I don't want to upgrade to premium. All right, we're just going to have to suck it up, guys. I'm sorry about the adverts. It is what it is. Here we go. So Chelsea owner Todd Boehly has spoken at the Financial Times Business of Football Summit on Thursday evening on a number of topics. The American has come under fire from fans in recent times for the direction of the club since its takeover in 2022, with concerns about the level of spending on young talent, as well as a lack of success on the pitch and homegrown talent such as Conor Gallagher and Mason Mount being sold. But Boehly has addressed those concerns and more while speaking in London on Thursday. And here's every word he has said. He has addressed those concerns and more. He hasn't addressed vivid seats. So I wouldn't say that he's addressed everything that people want. He certainly hasn't addressed vivid seats. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let's have a look. Oh, fuck off. Stupid adverts. Maybe I should just subscribe. Todd Boehly on fan criticism. I just think it is par for the course. The sooner you learn you are not going to keep all the people happy all the time, the freedom shows up. We are just trying to execute a plan and recognize things aren't linear, and we are trending in the right direction. The trend is moving in the right direction, and that's the thing that really matters. In June, it will be 3 years in charge. That's not a lot of time, especially when you get to 50, 60, or 70 years old in life. It's a whirlwind of activity and a steep learning curve, but I think that's also a good thing. So he's basically saying that he understands that he's not going to keep everyone happy. But by saying that, he's also saying, I don't care if people are unhappy. That's what he's essentially saying without saying it. He says that 3 years is not a lot of time. But, you know, when you've been supporting Chelsea for however long, you know, and you see the trend, I mean, he's talking about trends here. The trend is trophyless. It's the TT trend. And I'm not talking about the Thomas Tuchel trend. It's the trophyless trend. We didn't win a trophy in our first season. We didn't win a trophy in our second season. And now we're here in year 3 and we've got to talk about getting to 60 or 70 years old before we have to worry. I mean, what are we talking about here? I'm 23 years old. So in most of my adult life, I've actually seen Chelsea be unsuccessful. The first 2 years was okay. We won the Champions League. We won the Club World Cup, got to a lot of domestic cup finals, albeit we didn't win them, but we were extremely competitive. And I'm seeing a negative trend. I mean, if the trend was a negative, why else would there have been protests? Why else would all of the press that has come out recently, why would it have come out? So that is the question that I ask with regards to those comments. Sometimes you need to accept that there's a reason people are unhappy, and it's because you're not doing a very good job. Now, one thing at least Todd Boehly does, unlike Iqbal and Feliciano, is he does address these issues more on a footballing level. You have to give him that. I mean, he is. He's talking football right now, isn't he? I know he's talking about the plan, but it goes hand in hand. At least we're not just talking about fucking money, although I'm sure that will come into the equation. I know it will. Todd Boehly on Chelsea's ownership dynamic. The one thing I've learned about the British press is they exaggerate a lot and leave stuff out. I'm not going to comment. We have agreed on a strategy and a way forward, and stuff is getting done. And I don't look in the rearview mirror. Well, he's not wrong about the British press, is he? I mean, they do exaggerate. But they also highlight some of the glaring problems. So maybe it's worth addressing some of those problems. He's not going to comment on the ownership dynamic, mostly because, well, two things. Even if they did fall out, which I believe they have, as far as I'm aware, Todd Boehly actually wants to buy out Clearlake Capital, as far as I'm aware, and he tried to get investment, but he couldn't get it, and I think he'll try again. And I think that he will try to buy out Clearlake Capital. I do believe that's what's going to happen. Not that it will work, but I believe he will try to. So he says we've agreed on a strategy and a way forward and stuff is getting done. So listen, it's so vague and unspecific that you know that you can't really take anything from it. And that's what he wants. He doesn't want to give us anything to work, which is fair enough, isn't it? I mean, listen. I remember I interviewed him after one game. I say I interviewed him. I asked him one question. And, I said, what did you think of the match today? And he went, no comment. I went, what? I just asked what you thought of the match. And then I said, did you enjoy it? And he said, of course. And I went, oh, okay, cheers. So I think they're quite media trained. And I think the British press is probably part of that. But again, nothing wrong with being open. Again, he hasn't got investors to worry about. This is his own money. So I don't understand why, why can't you be more open with your ideas? You were certainly much more open at the beginning. And actually, all of them were, because they said exactly what they wanted to do. And they've gone and done it. And they're doing it. We saw earlier Ben Jacobs talking about some of the talking points with Conor Gallagher and Mason Mount. If you go back to Todd Boehly's one of his conferences, he actually said, and I quote, he said, we don't look as the academy players as people, we look at them as products. Product. That is what he said. I'm quoting him. Okay. Maybe not the people bit, but it's like, we don't look at them as, it was something like that. Actually, no, I'm sure it was that. I'm sure it was that. We don't look at them as people, we look at them as products. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure some of you were on that stream as well. And he says, and I don't look in the rearview mirror. He's only looking forward, apparently. Okay, so there they are, blah, blah, blah. Boehly suggests Premier League are given to shares each season. What? Maybe that's a typo. I think he means Premier League teams are given shares each season. He said, as an investor in sports, I have the ability to drive emotions and outcomes. The top football brands are well equipped to grow in value. The NFL is probably worth 200 billion. Netflix is 400 billion. So the question is, would you rather own the NFL or Netflix? And my bet would be on the NFL. They will continue to create great content. Now, if you look at football in Europe, there is an evolution ongoing. The stadiums were built with the utilitarian mindset. And what you're going to see is more professional sports coming to Europe, like the NBA, and the product will evolve and provide new revenue opportunities. And if you grow revenue, you grow value. There is a bit of an unorganized landscape in European football, which reminds me of the sort of retail sports network market in America. There is a handful of things that need to be sorted. Now, this sounds a little bit like Feliciano when he came out and essentially said that Chelsea was a poorly run club. Bear in mind, since he's run Chelsea, we've won absolutely nothing and we've regressed compared to Roman Abramovich, who won everything and was the most successful owner, arguably, in world football. And if I was to have a debate with anyone about who the greatest football owner is in history, I don't think that you could actually beat my argument of Roman Abramovich, based on the fact that he's an individual who doesn't need other people's money, who doesn't care about money, who wants the best, not only for the football club, but the community, the ladies team, everything around Chelsea he loved, and he made it better. He even helped the NHS, considering the government wanted to kick him out of the country and they fucking got rid of his football club. Tell me there's a better owner in world football. I'll wait. You can't. Anyway. So let's go from here. So he says he has the ability to drive emotions and outcomes. Well, he's not wrong there. The top football brands are well equipped to grow in value. I agree with that as well. They will certainly grow in value, as any asset would, especially in the Premier League. The NFL is worth probably 200 billion. Netflix is worth 400 billion. So the question is, would you rather own the NFL or Netflix? And my bet would be on the NFL. They continue to create great content. Now, some of you would think, why is he saying that? The reason he's saying that is because Netflix is already so big, it's going to be harder for them to get bigger. But the NFL still has a lot of room to grow. And so what you're saying is if it doubles in value, it's still around the same as Netflix anyway. Once you get so big, it is harder to grow. I mean, that's like anything, isn't it? You have less fucking opportunity, whatever. I'm not even trying to justify what Boehly's saying. I'm just trying to, for some of those of you who don't understand why he's saying what he's saying, this is what I believe he's trying to say. Now, I'm not actually sure what utilitarian means. I want to make sure I get it right. What does it say? I don't get it. Designed to be practical. I don't get it. Let me know in the comments, guys. I don't understand what that means. What the fuck does that mean? I haven't got a clue. But what has the NBA got to do with this? So he's basically saying the NBA's. I mean, they already do stuff in Europe anyway. To be fair, and they have the baseball teams and the MLB coming to Europe. I went to the London series myself, 2 years. I loved it. The point is, though, if I was a baseball fan in America and I wanted to go and watch every single game, I'd be well pissed off. But in baseball, they play about 162 matches a year. So it's totally different. In the NBA, they play about 82 games a year. In football, they play 50% of that. Most football teams play about 40, 45, 50 games maximum if you're a top team, 60 games for the biggest clubs in the world. Maybe I'm not including preseason. Maybe I am. Not sure. So, like Jurgen Klopp said, I saw it today. It popped up on my feed because Boehly was talking about bringing the North versus South All-Star game. When are you going to play it? Please tell me the date. It's not going to happen. End of football, people with this kind of mindset. He says they're a bit of an unorganized landscape in European football, which reminds me of the retail sports network market in America. There's a handful of things that need to be sorted. Again, this is regarding the financial outlook, I'm sure. I think what he means by that is there's a lot of owners and a lot of clubs that are not driven by money. That is what it sounds like. So that doesn't sound good. He says one of the challenges is relegation in football. It's hard to price. If everyone was equal, you'd have a 15% chance of relegation, but everyone isn't equal. So you have to work out how best to address that valuation challenge. Relegation is cultural and is not going anywhere. So why not every season when a team is in the Premier League, you get one share of EPL stock, and even if you go down, you keep that stock. Now, again, let me explain why he's saying this. Again, we know that relegation, well, it's still something that's on the agenda, I'm sure, although it should be pushed very hard against by even some American owners, if I'm not wrong. Bill Boehly, who owns Bournemouth, is one of the few Americans who actually doesn't have the same mindset, which is quite refreshing. So when people say 14 Americans, actually you'd need about 15, because Bournemouth's owner is not that bad. I'm genuinely serious when I say that. I've seen a lot of stuff about the guy. I speak to Bournemouth fans as well. Yeah. So yes, but the challenge is very real, isn't it? The challenge is very real. And why does it have to be? I mean, it's so fucking data driven. 15% chance of relegation if everyone was equal. Why do you have to think about that? Why can't you just think about, how do I get the best for Chelsea? What can I do to improve Chelsea? What is going to take me from being 12th in the league to 6th in the league to probably finishing less than 6th in the league again to being number 1? What can you do? Come on, guys. Let's chill out, people. Let's chill out in the chat. I don't mind what's going on in the chat, so please don't ban anyone. Don't ban anyone. If it's not direct, well, if it's not disrespectful to me, then I'm not that bothered. Well, actually, I'm still not that bothered. But yeah, nobody needs to get banned. Nobody needs to get banned. We're all on the same side here. We're all on the same side. So what he wants, because if you can't get a dividend as if you can't get a dividend out of the club, and of course they will take dividends at some point, especially from 2032 if they're still involved in the club, because we'll end up going public most likely, and maybe on the stock market like Brighton. Then what we will find is they'll find a new way to increase that. How else can you generate money? This is an extra additional form of passive income that you get solely for being a part of the club, just like you would if you were part of the NFL. You get a guaranteed amount of revenue just for being a part of the competition. It's the same with the MLB. It's the same with the MLS. It's the same with all of these projects in America. This is typical American sports. And yeah, obviously Chelsea won't get relegated. Let's not kid ourselves. So if we're getting stock every year, we are getting a dividend. We will get a passive income. Whoever owns the club will get a passive income out of that. And he's saying that even if you go down as a Premier League club like Leicester or Ipswich, for example, or Southampton, they would still have a stock, but they wouldn't get it the next year. So I think that, listen, would I rather this than the idea of getting rid of relegation entirely? Of course I would rather this, but it's still not a good thing. I mean, it's crazy that these thoughts are still going around. So for me, I don't know. Apparently I've missed a super chat. Oh, sorry. Let's have a look. I'm not ignoring you, Fred. Don't worry. Roman sanctions have been downgraded by the EU. He never had to sell It's criminal. Well, I mean, this is what makes it even more frustrating, isn't it, Fred? This is the most frustrating thing about it. We are looking at a scenario that didn't need to happen if it wasn't for the incompetence of the British government. And to be quite frank, the new British government is still incompetent. So anyone saying that the government needs to sort this out, I mean, they're just as clueless, if not more clueless, than the last government. For those of you in America, you may or may not know that. For those of you in England, I'm sure you do know that. So we can't count on the government to get us out of this situation that the previous government put us in anyway. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where, you know, if they don't get rid of it, we're fucked. But of course, you know, I hear what fans are doing, what I've been a part of as well with regards to protest. Protesting will certainly help. Process, especially from a Clear Lake standpoint, more so than a Boehly standpoint, because Boehly can just stand his ground and, you know, it's his money. He can do what he wants. Clear Lake, it's not their money. They are a slave to their investors. It doesn't matter if Boehly and Egbali are happy or unhappy. If their investors are unhappy, then that is the issue. People say they're not going to listen to Chelsea fans or the press, which is correct, but they will listen to their investors. They have to listen to their investors because they expect a return. Clear Lake's sole project, the whole reason Clear Lake was set up was to make money for investors, to generate a profit, to generate a return. And that is what they're trying to do. And that is what they have set out to do. And Boehly is still a part. I mean, he's actually admitting to being a part of that because he said everyone's on the same page, although I do disagree with that. I don't think he's on the same page as them in a lot of respects. Vivid Seats is separate. I think that's unacceptable. I don't know why that hasn't been addressed, but I do think that Boehly wants Chelsea to go in a different direction with regards to the wage caps, with regards to the players we bring in and the experience and the way that you push the brand forward. One of the things that Egbali said and Boehly as well, they also, and Feliciano, I'm sure they all said this, they want to grow the brand. How will you grow the brand when the brand is unsuccessful? How will you grow the brand when the brand does not deliver what it is expected to deliver? This is why, yeah, for anyone who watches Formula One, you may have seen the documentary Drive to Survive. There was an episode with McLaren when the head of McLaren was meeting with one of his sponsors. And this is when McLaren weren't doing very well. And they said, listen, you need to get results or we're not going to sponsor you anymore. And this is the thing with Chelsea. If we don't get results, why are people going to want to support us instead of Man City? How is that going to grow our brand? Why would any sponsor pick us over a Champions League club based on the fact that we're probably not going to get Champions League football, how we're playing domestically? How are we going to do that? So my opinion is that, yes, they are in it together. Yes, they both want to make money, but I believe that Boehly wants to do it in a slightly different way. I don't believe that I don't believe that there is a synergy in the way they work from a footballing standpoint. I do believe from a financial standpoint that both want the same things. I agree with that. But yeah, I think if Boehly had it his own way, he'd try and buy him out. And so I've heard that he's tried to buy him out. He tried to raise money from Saudi Arabia, which he didn't get. I'm sure that he'll probably be coming back for more at some point. But why would you want to get involved in Chelsea the way it is? You know, it's not worth the money that you pay for now. It was worth it, but it's not worth it anymore because we are not a brand that you buy and are ready to challenge. It's different if you buy Man City or even Arsenal, to be fair. If someone was to buy them, they've got a team willing to compete. Not guaranteed top four. It's never really that way, is it? But you got a team that's ready to compete up the top end of the table. But yes, Fred, really gutted about Roman, man. Really gutted. I can't believe that the things were done the way they were done. I was in Luton Stadium when the announcement came out from Abramovich that he had to sell the club. And yeah, just thoroughly disappointed, really. Thoroughly disappointed. I feel for Roman, and I would love, well, I'd be very interested. Let's just put it like that. I'll be very interested to see the legal battles between him and the UK government. And what happens when Abramovich beats the UK government and he sues them and he gets his money back and more because he deserves more. What happens then? We'll see. We will see. Thanks for the super chat, mate. Really appreciate it. Sorry, I missed it earlier. I do apologize. Okay. So Boehly wants to have Premier League stock so they can keep it as a dividend and presumably make a passive income. That is the reason he wants to do that is because there's no chance of getting rid of relegation, or so he says. Todd Boehly on the most misunderstood part of the Chelsea project. The most misunderstood thing is we are thinking about measuring success in years. You have to think both short and long term. We are focused on the combination of both of those things. Oh, God, you're making me fall asleep, Todd. Fucking hell, man. So boring. So boring. Where's the ambition, man? Where is the ambition? We are focused on the combination of both of those things and seeking the best way to execute. It's a balancing act. Look, one thing that you can argue, and I'm not arguing this, but I'm saying this is what some people could argue, is that if we were to finish in whatever position we finish in, actually, if we were to finish in the Europa League, for example, this season, based on winning the Conference League, you could argue that it's a progression. You could argue that because you've gone from 12th to 6th. You've gone from no Champions League football to Conference League football to Europa League football. The next stage is Champions League, although you want to get Champions League straight away. And that's the only way you could argue there's any form of progression. But again, if you were taking a club that was in 12th in the first place, it would have been a different scenario. It would be much happier. If they would have done what they've done with Chelsea, with Newcastle, I'd be chuffed, wouldn't I? Of course I would. But that's not the situation. You took a club that used to win everything, and since you've owned it, and Clear Lake, we've won absolutely nothing. Zilch. Nothing. So I can't sit here and say that Boehly's been doing anything for the short term. I mean, you could argue we tried to do that in the first year because we bought a lot of established, ready-made players who didn't perform regardless, except maybe Cucurella. You could say is fit into the team very well. Not his first season, but after that, is there anyone else? Cucurella, Enzo Fernandez. Caicedo was a little bit later on, wasn't he? Those are the only ones. Is there anyone that I've missed? So when you look at the money that we spent, that's money that's very poorly spent. Very poorly spent. We didn't know how to invest at all. But yes, they do need to focus more on the short term, especially in the coming season as well. We didn't take this season seriously. We let ourselves down in January. That is the downfall of this season. Just the pathetic window we had in January. So we need to make up for it in the summer. We are banking on getting Champions League football, but Jesus, the way we're going, I'd be very surprised if we got it. I am not confident that we finish in front of Newcastle, Bournemouth, any of these guys. I'm really not confident whatsoever. He said strikers are hard to find. You don't go into the grocery store and say, I am going to get a striker. It's an amazing skill set and you have to have the right mentality. But we went to the grocery store and we decided, even though we have the money to pay for the groceries, being the striker, being Victor Osimhen, we said, even though that's available right now, I'm still not going to get it. So what are you talking about? We found the right player. We found a top quality player with the right mentality. Or if we're talking about mentality here, if that's not the right mentality, the fact that he doesn't want to take a pay cut to join Chelsea, even though he's already on great money where he is at the moment, still playing in the Champions European football, still playing for one of the top teams in his respective country, which is currently Turkey, but it was Napoli as well. How can you sit here and say that we didn't have the opportunity? We've had plenty of opportunities. So that's a very strange comment. Now, again, this has been one of the themes. Todd Boehly asked if the Chelsea ownership will be the same by this time next year. He said, I cannot predict the future. And what that is saying is that there is instability. There is instability. You cannot sit here and say that he is enjoying working with Clear Lake, because although the goals are the same, yes, we know they both want to make money. The way they are doing it is different. The way they want to do it is different, because Boehly will go down the route of actually growing the brand, in my opinion. I really believe that he would go to that, to the level of buying more experienced players, to even if it was fucking Ronaldo, like we were linked with one time, that you can see what he's thinking. Shirt sales, sponsorships, everyone loves Ronaldo. Oh, I'm going to support Chelsea now, blah, blah. That's his mindset. And then you've got Clearlake, which is money, 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 money. All about money. Fucking hell. Grow the brand. What? You got to win football matches to do that? No chance. We're growing the bank account. That's what we're growing. We're growing the bank account. We like Brighton. Hey, give us 150 million for Palmer. You can have him. Let's fucking have it. If we make a 10 million profit on Caicedo, we'll take it. That's what they're saying. We want 10% of our wages, 10% of our revenue spent on wages. It's a sustainable mid-table model. That's what we want. Todd Boehly on sticking to a strategy. You can't turn left and right every 3 minutes. That might be some of the advice we get if you really boil it down. Well, I'm afraid you did turn left and right, didn't you? Because we started off spending money on experienced players and young players as well. And then we decided to turn again. And we decided to bring in these wage caps and not sign any players over the age of 25 unless you can get them for free, like Tosin. On top of the fact that, I mean, oh God, you have to have a manager that fits into this as well, that accepts it. And any good manager won't accept it, like Poch didn't. That's why Luis Enrique wouldn't fit into the project, or Nagelsmann, or any of these guys. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. Is that everything? Fucking hell. Jesus. That's it. I thought there was more than that. I was certain that there was more. So this is where, yeah. Yeah. Let's have a look. Let's go with the comments, guys. Let me answer some questions. Apologies. I'm sorry I couldn't answer any questions. We've got about 15 minutes. So let's see if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. Neil says the Super Leagues run by the Americans is coming. It's certainly something that they're looking at. And Boehly said this as well when he was asked 2 years ago. They said to him, they said, would you be open to the prospect of the Super League, or would you close the door? And he said, I'm not going to close the door to anything. I'm always open. But he said it's not something we're thinking about right now. Big up to Chelsea Young Boys. Big up to you, Alex. Good to see you chat with Johnny. Yeah, no, I'll get on with Johnny. Me and Johnny. I've never had a problem with Johnny. I knew Johnny before I was involved in Chelsea Fan TV, before he had Minerals FC. I got pictures on my Instagram of Johnny from the Ricketts protest, if I'm not wrong. I was in the pub with him, and I said he had one of those posters, and I said, do you mind if I take a photo of you with the what do you call it, with the poster? And he went, yeah, okay. So I took it. Let me see if I can get it. It might be quite a way back. 4th of April 2022. There he is. That's Johnny. Oh, you can't see him. No to Rick, it's buck off, Roman back, rain out. There you go. So no, I've known him for a while. I get on well with Johnny. He doesn't really go on other people's channels, so I don't think that will ever happen. But you know, big up to him. Oh, the beef in the chat was just banter. Oh, fair enough. Sorry about that. Yes, he didn't put all of it in there, did he? What kind of journalism is that, Ben Jacobs? You didn't even put it all in there. For fuck's sake. Oh, that's crap. He said that this is everything Todd Boehly has said and then didn't put everything that was said. Isn't that just classic? Fuck's sake, man. Doesn't it annoy you when that happens? I hate that. Who else reported on this? Who else reported on this? Because we are missing something. But to go to that point about football heading towards competition, sending all rights to one streaming platform, I absolutely think it will happen. But I don't think it should happen with the whole of football. I mean, I think that you should have different streaming platforms for the leagues and being able to broadcast every single game from that league. I don't think there's anything wrong with Netflix, for example, having the rights to the Premier League and you see every single match on Netflix. I think that'd be great. And I think that that would encourage people to have a Netflix subscription. I would pay an extra 10 quid a month on top of what I already would pay for a Netflix subscription, which is like, what, £12 a month, sorry. So I'd pay 25 quid a month to watch that. I pay 72 quid a month to watch Sky. It's ridiculous. And I know a lot of people don't want to pay for Sky, but if you can guarantee every game from your team, then it's certainly worth looking at. But every single thing on one platform, I think that's too much, because then what you're doing is you're monopolizing the market. And I think that that's wrong, because that gives too much pull. Too much pull to the owners in terms of the way the finances are, because once you go to that point, you will never come back. And yeah, I do think that there's an element of that is not great. The ownership will take you on rocket speed to where United is now. We're already worse, to be honest with you. Everyone says that, oh, you think you've got it bad. The Glazers are two individuals. We are owned by probably hundreds, if I'm totally honest with you. We're owned by hundreds of people because there are hundreds of investors in Clear Lake. And for that reason, I think that we're in a worse position, because private equity is the most brutal industry. They will not take a loss on their investment. They will do whatever needs to be done in order to make their money back. Whereas United at least had some success under the Glazers. I mean, what are we having? Absolutely fuck all, as far as I'm concerned. As a Galatasaray, I think Osman is a perfect fit for Chelsea. You guys will get him in the summer. If you get Europa League, that would be very interesting. I'll be very happy to have Osman. We need whatever we can get, to be quite frank. Oh, God. Netflix is £18 a month. Bloody hell, they pushed the prices up. I don't pay for Netflix anymore. Well, there you go. How much would you pay for Netflix if you knew that you were going to have football as well? How much would you pay then? That's the question I have for you. All of these points are against what Chelsea fans want for our club. How convenient this comes 2 days after the protest. Well, in fairness, Shrin, this conference was this was organized quite some time ago. So I don't think that this was a direct response to the protest, but there's been plenty of PR coming out saying that people, other clubs are fearful of Chelsea's project, and we're going to be absolutely on fire at some point, and Liverpool is scared. Fuck off. I'm scared. How about that? I'm scared of the season ticket prices. You got Chelsea fans in Stamford Bridge scared of, for example, in some of the hospitality sections, they're scared that next season, they know that their prices are going to go up by 30%. We already had a price increase this year, and they're going to have another one the next year straight after that 30%. What was it last year? Another 30%? Are you telling me 60% increase in 2 years is acceptable? It's a fucking disgrace. Absolute disgrace. Stop calling me Kev. Fuck off. Kev, stop calling me. Sorry. I'm sorry. Fuck's sake. He always calls me when I'm on stream. I don't know why he does that. You're going to have to wait, Kev. I'm sorry, man. We might have that again because he likes to double dial sometimes. Anyway, We don't need Osman. We have Tossen, man. Ha ha ha. Very funny, Steve. Very funny. Ren says, would you like Liam Delap in the summer? I would take Liam Delap. I think Delap's a good player. I think he would complement Jackson. But if you're asking me would I take Delap over Osman, then the answer is no. I would take Osman over Delap. But I think that when it comes to this ownership, we will settle for Delap. And I am not against Delap. But why didn't we have Delap in January when we could have had him in January for the right price? I tell you why. Because we've run out of money and we've spent it all. The money that we spent on the players was not our own money. It was private equity money that was loaned to us. It was bank money that was loaned to us. We're going to have to pay that money back. If we would have invested that money properly, we wouldn't have been in this situation. But because we're in a situation now, we've invested poorly, and you've invested in the likes of Mudryk, who's been done for doping, whether he comes back is something, or you've spent 30 million on Madueke, 30 million on all these other bums. A lot of them are going to be sold on anyway, like Dewsbury Hall, I'm sure. And then you question, why isn't it working? Well, maybe if you'd have signed half the players for double the transfer fees and double the wages as well, you would have had the success, and you would have had the Champions League, which would have also paid for the wages. So you wouldn't have to worry about the financial implications anyway, because you'd be bringing more money into the club and you get the players on better contracts irrespective. But we're not going to have that issue because we have no ambition. So that's just me talking. I'm guessing you have Peacock, King, but in England, I'm afraid we don't have that privilege unless you got VPN or something like that. It costs you more to watch the MLS than the Premier League in America. My God, that's mad. To the depths, he says they're forcing out the proper Chelsea. They want tourists and spectators just happy to be there. Absolutely. Because why? If you are a match-going fan like myself, I'll tell you what, I looked at my card the other day. I spent 15 quid in the stadium. I feel absolutely ashamed of myself. I bought a burger. No, not a burger. I bought a pie. I bought a 12 and I bought a beer. And I feel like I've been totally ripped off. But those tourists, they'll go out there and they'll spend 100 quid in the stadium. They'll spend money in the club shop. They will buy the food. They will buy the drink. They'll get the scarves. They'll do it all. They'll get the stadium tour. They'll pay for the expensive seats. They'll go on Vivid Seats and purchase a seat. And unfortunately, that is the way that these guys see themselves making money through ticket sales is through those type of fans. Osman, Gorka, Sesko, and many more. Boehly, you liar. We have strikers list. It is that they do not want to break our wage structure, even to make exceptions or make top signings. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Ren says, yeah, definitely I'd take Osman over Delap. But just thinking logically, we will go for Delap. I'm with you on that. Yeah, absolutely. Smokey says Gorkarez is too old for this model, and Osman will ask for too much money. It's not too much money, though, is it? It's just too much money for Chelsea. But somebody else will offer him the money, and it will accept them, and it will come back to haunt us, I'm sure. But there you go. We will have to sell one of our best players before we buy a good striker. Again, guys, for those of you who don't understand why we have to sell to buy, you have to look at the finances of this, and this stuff is already public. We have borrowed. For fuck's sake, Kev keeps fucking calling me. Sorry, guys, if it cut out. We have borrowed 1.2 billion of other people's money that isn't Clear Lake's investors, that isn't anything to do with Todd Boehly's consortium. We borrowed 1.2 billion in order to finance everything that we've been doing at the moment in terms of buying players. This was done like 2 years ago. This isn't recent. This is public knowledge. And the difference between the money we received from the bank, which was higher by 200 million than what we received from Ares Capital. Or was it Axe Capital? No, I think it's Ares Capital. The bank is 4% interest, roughly. Ares Capital is 13% interest because they are a private equity firm as well. So we've got a private equity firm borrowing money off of another private equity firm. Now, that money has been spent. It's been spent on Caicedo and Enzo and all of these guys. And because we've made poor investments on the players we've already brought in, we're going to struggle to sell anyone for a profit. We had a fantastic sales strategy. Well, I don't want to say strategy, but a good conversion of sales. Not this summer, the summer before, and we thought, bloody hell, this is great. But those were players that were bought by Abramovich to win. Of course, you're going to get good money for those kind of players that have been successful at Chelsea and know what it takes. Now you're buying Madueke and expecting to make a profit on him. You're not going to make a profit on Enzo and Caicedo. So you're very limited with what you can sell for good money. Nobody's going to pay 30 million for Dewsbury Hall the way he's been playing. And you've only got a certain amount of loans that you can do as well. So maybe one of the, I don't know, maybe one of the scenarios is you sell Dewsbury Hall to Strasbourg. That might be one of the strategies here, because who the fuck else is going to buy that guy? I'd pay 50% of what Chelsea paid for him. I wouldn't pay that money if I was an owner. There you go. So Kev, proper Chelsea. Yeah, he is proper Chelsea. Big up to Kev. Listen, guys, it's been an hour, and I've enjoyed the stream. Big up to everyone that's watching as well. Big up to everyone that's done super chats as well. Appreciate Fred and Brian as well. Big up to you guys. Big shout out. And yeah, listen, we're going to be back with more news tomorrow. We've got a show at 1 o'clock. I will be hosting everything tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. Let me just double check. Yes, I will be hosting the lunch show at 1 o'clock, as well as the Blue Balls podcast, which is at roughly 8 o'clock. So if you want to jump on and join us for those ones, please do. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash the like button. Let's get over 100 likes on this video. We had about 150 at one point. So smash the like button. Big up to everyone. Appreciate your time. And there is more pain on the horizon, but we'll be here, and we'll be here together. Up the Chelsea, and we'll catch up very soon.